Welcome everyone. Welcome to this webinar with me. It's Tatum Woodruff from Hardwood Digital, and tonight I'm going to be talking about the 7 steps for successful Facebook ads. Now I'm excited to be presenting this to you because I guess Facebook ads is something that gives you a lot of power in terms of how you can promote your business online, but it's not simple, but it is simple. And as we work through these things tonight, you'll get an overview of how they work and what's important for successful campaigns. And because it's not necessarily as simple all the time as just setting up an ad and putting it out there into the universe and hoping good things come your way. There's a lot more that goes into it than that, but I'll be talking you through it tonight. Now, if you've got any questions, just pop them in the chat box. Depending on what kind of device you're viewing on, you should be able to bring up a chat box over on the right-hand side. So that will be there if you're on a desktop. If you are on an iPad, unfortunately, you don't get access to that function. So if you're on an iPad and you're watching, by all means, email me with any questions that you have afterwards. But other than that, let's get on with it. There we go. All right, so who am I? I'll just start with a quick introduction. So I'm Tatum Woodruff. I am Director of Digital Agency Hardwood Digital. I'm a digital strategist, a content marketer and online business mentor. My professional background, I'm actually a mining engineer, but I've been working in the online space for about 10 years. I've stepped away from the mining industry now, and I guess if you're in Australia, then you'll know that the mining industry isn't in a great place at the moment, and I'm really excited now to be working full-time in the online space. So here we go. Facebook ads, they're easy to use, they're dynamic, and they have vast targeting options. Now, it's those targeting options that makes them incredibly useful to us. You think about traditional marketing where you might do a letterbox drop, put an ad in the newspaper, have some radio advertising or a TV ad. And the people that advertising goes to is then beyond your control. Yes, certain TV stations or newspapers or suburbs, they have a demographic that you can roughly target, but Facebook enables you to target well beyond that. Let's say you have a product that you know only women are interested in, then it's really easy to only target your advertising to women. And that's just the beginning. So before I jump in too much about the background of or the insights into how Facebook advertising works, let's just talk about one little thing. And it really is a little thing. It's the Facebook pixel. Now, what is the Facebook pixel? You may or may not have heard of it, but it's really a useful thing to have installed on your website. All it is a little piece of code that gets placed in the head of your website. It tracks Facebook users who come to your website, and it then enables you to create an audience for retargeting your advertising to. Now, there's actually some instructions over on the Hardwood Digital website that will walk you through setting it up and creating an audience for a WordPress website. It will work for any website provided that you can get that code into the head of your website. And that's really all you need to worry about, that blog post, and it will show up on your right-hand side in the showcase area of the Hangout. There's a link there, or otherwise you just go straight to www.hardwooddigital.com and you'll find it there on the blog. That will take you step by step through how to do it and how to set up that audience. Why that audience is useful is that what you know, if you target advertising to that audience, you know that they've already been to your website. So they have already come into contact with you. And as you can imagine, it's, you at least doubling how powerful that advertising on Facebook is, because you know they already know who you are. All right. So moving on. let's talk about content, because content is what comes first. Your ads come second. I know without a doubt from running my own ad campaigns and ad campaigns for clients that if you have great content on your Facebook page, on your website, in your emails already, you've got content there that people are interested in and they're engaging with, then how well your ads work for you is going to be or like so much better. It's because of the way Facebook works in part, but it's also because when people go and they look at your Facebook page or their website, they can already see that there are people interested in what you're saying, and they can see that you're saying interesting stuff, and that's really important. So, as I said, you might have thought this was about ads. Facebook ads work best when you've already got good free content. So free content is the stuff you produce, and that's actually the best advertising in the form of content marketing, because they're those little pieces of your whole business puzzle that you're sharing with the wider community a little bit at a time and building up your authority, building up how much people trust you. And if your free content isn't consistent and engaging, then you're going to have a much harder time building trust with your audience. And trust is ultimately what leads to sales for your business, because it's the people who know you, who like you and trust you, that will become your customers and clients. And we know that ourselves as consumers and business owners, that it's those people who trust us who are much more likely to spend money on our services. So what makes for good content? It's got to be native. And what native is basically that it fits into the surroundings. So let's take a pair of shoes, for example, and you'll find, I'll talk a bit about shoes tonight. A pair of shoes is just sitting there on a white background that's just a pair of shoes. It's kind of in your face, and it doesn't look as nice as, let's say, a well-styled pair of shoes on a person, or a pair of shoes as part of a pretty flat lay. And that's what we mean by native and fitting into the surroundings. It's nice to look at. It's maybe got an element of entertainment to it. It's the good stuff. It's not just a picture there that is not really giving. It's just like, here's the shoes. Can you buy the shoes? Aren't these shoes pretty? Don't they look great? Would you maybe like the pair of shoes? It's more subtle. So good content doesn't ask for too much too often. It's relevant, it's bite-sized, and it's consistent and fits into your business's big picture. So what I say when I'm saying it fits into your business's big picture, it's okay to post a funny cat video once in maybe every 3 months. Don't post a funny cat video every day, unless maybe you're a cat vet, then it would be relevant. But if you're an accountant, if people are seeing a funny cat video day in, day out on your Facebook page, then they're not really going to take you seriously. They're not going to see you as an accountant. When they need accounting services, you're not the person they're going to come to. They come to you because you post funny cat videos. Now, with the funny cat videos, if you're going to use them, it's important that you use them strategically, because they will build engagement. People like funny cat videos and they'll watch them. And so consequently, what that will do is boost the reach of your content on Facebook. And it's a good idea, if you want to post a funny cat video, to post the next post is something that's really quite relevant and important, and something that you want your audience to see. So that's what makes for good content. Now let's look at content planning in 2 minutes, because I know that this can be really overwhelming for us sometimes. We've kind of got in our brain, it's like the top end of a funnel, and there's lots and lots of information up there. It can be really difficult to somehow digest that and get that out the skinny little hole at the bottom. I call it the funnel effect. I mean, we know a huge amount about our subject matter, and breaking that down to get it across to our audience piece by piece can be really difficult. So here's a few ideas in terms of how you can think about your content planning to make it a bit easier for yourself. So Facebook is the place to tell the story behind your business in a way that supports your business goals. You can use your content to build a relationship with your audience and with other businesses. It's important that you don't overthink it. You should be consistently regular, but don't be afraid to mix it up or panic when you miss a post. And should be subtly strategic with what you're posting. So effectively, everything you're doing on social media should be bringing back to a common point that brings people and points them in the direction of what your services or products are. And if you're a service-based business, you'll have probably 2 or 3 key areas that you want to be seen as the authority on. Let's say you are a physio, for example, and you work with people who run. So I'm sure that it'd be quite easy to pull out 2 or 3 overarching topics that you could then break down into a multitude of different ideas. So let's say for that physio, one thing could be recovery, as in recovery after exercise. And another key area could be around injury prevention, let's say. I mean, I'm not a physio, I'm just sort of making things up here on the fly. But I'm sure when you sit down and you do some brainstorming about what those things are that you want to be known as the authority on, that then lead back to what your services are, it shouldn't take you long to whittle it down to just those 2 or 3 things. And from there, you can take those 2 or 3 things and mind map out to come up with just simple bite-sized chunks of content. And by bite-sized, what I mean there is it's something that's easy for people to consume and digest quickly and easily, because that's generally, that's all people's attention span is. So if you can just give them one takeaway, they're going to be happy. And if you give them more of those single takeaways more often, then they're going to continue to engage with you more often and build that authority. So move on from that one. So here's a simple content plan. Now, this is a content plan that is developed in the lead up to a particular event. Now, for you, that event could be actually a physical event. It also could be a launch if you've got a product that's going on sale. And you could structure it around a particular service that you offer. So let's say January, everything is structured around service A that you provide. In February, you choose service B and all of your posting leads to that point. And then service C in March, et cetera, so that you've got, I guess, a fairly focused way of developing your content plan from month to month. So what you can see here is that this is a content plan with 4 posts per week that are targeted at that particular end goal. Let's say obviously we're talking about a single service or single event here. To keep people engaged, you're not going to want to be talking about that same thing day in, day out. And obviously you're going to want to rephrase and restructure how you're educating your audience around what that service or event is. In those spots there that don't have anything that are blank, you would add in your other content that may be related to one of your 2 or 3 other key topics. And you'd also add in some of your engaging cat videos there. And the other interesting content, you might be sharing things that are relevant from other businesses that are sort of businesses that you want to form relationships with that will give your audience, I guess, something additional to what you offer that complements it, but it's different to the services that you offer. So what you can see there is there are, I think, 5 posts that have been nominated as boost posts. So this is a really simple ad plan. Rather than getting tied down with setting up ads from scratch, we're just going to boost them. Facebook's got a really, what you can do with a boosted post now is really quite in depth compared to what it used to be. As long as you've set up your audiences in inside your ads manager, you can boost a post to any one of them. And one of the really good advantages to boosting a post rather than setting up an ad from scratch is you've already got some form of social proof there in terms of people having already interacted with it. It's obviously more engaging when it goes out into newsfeed and it's already got a number of likes and comments on that post. People it's more likely to grab their attention. And then you can see the yellow highlighted posts section of the calendar there. That would actually be running an ad, and that ad would be directing people somewhere specific. It might be to a landing page to sign up for an offer. It could be to buy a ticket to the event. It could be to book in for a strategy session. There's lots of things that you can do with that, but that ad would have a specific outcome that where you were directing your traffic to and what you wanted people to do as a result of taking action from that ad. So hopefully this is all making sense to you. If you've got any questions, just pop them in the chat box. And as I said, if you don't have access to that chat box, feel free to email me later after we're done, and there will be a replay available to you also. So let's move on from that simple content plan. So beyond Facebook, our content isn't just on Facebook. Obviously, it's on our other social platforms, and they'll further tell your story and engage a different audience. But don't bite off more than you can chew here. You do not need to be on every single social media platform known to man. One of the reasons that I say get your business on Facebook is because, let's say I'm talking to an Australian audience here. In Australia, more than 50% of people are on Facebook. The only other social media platform that comes anywhere near to Facebook is YouTube. They sit roughly around the same numbers of people. And after that, probably Instagram, I think, is what's sitting around number 3, although I know Snapchat is something that's growing really quickly. And if you want to be doing content that's live to an audience, then Snapchat is potentially somewhere where you might want to be. If you have an audience that's in the age group on Snapchat, then possibly that's where you want to be. If you've got a product-based business, something that is pretty, then you definitely want to be on Instagram. If you've got a female audience, then Instagram is definitely got good potential for you. As far as Twitter goes, that can be a minefield. If it's somewhere that you like to be, then by all means spend time there. Use it strategically. You might just want to use it to build friendships and relationships with other business owners. LinkedIn is a great platform for business to business, particularly when you're in a professional area. And it's something that I'm seeing used in Australia more and more. And there's lots you can do with it in terms of connecting with people and sharing content and building your authority there. Now, your website is the ideal place to build your authority and capture prospects and leads. And when I talk about building authority, I don't just mean the authority of that you are the person who is the go-to person about your subject matter. What that authority is also a digital authority, and your authority with search engines. You will build that by creating more great content and posting it on your website, and then having that as the key home that you drive your traffic back to. As wonderful as Facebook is, you don't own your audience there, and you don't own your audience on your website either, but you do have slightly more control over what people see on your website than what and how much of you they'll see on Facebook. And whilst I wouldn't say that Facebook is forcing businesses to pay for exposure and reach on Facebook, I think realistically, as a business, you need to be willing to allocate a budget to it. They're certainly not dragging you over the coals to get you that exposure. It's a very cost-effective way to promote your business. So the reality is, whilst they're not forcing you to pay to play, I think it's a really good idea for businesses to allocate a budget for online advertising, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's AdWords, whether it's YouTube, whether it's LinkedIn. Actually moving to where we are right now and being willing to advertise on online is something that you need to be thinking about as a business owner. Now, capturing prospects and leads, that's something you can do on your website. And what I mean there is getting people to sign up to a mailing list. If you've got your pixels on your website, so your Facebook pixel, there's also an AdWords, a Google pixel that tracks traffic so that you can retarget around the internet when people are when they're on sites that have AdWords advertising. And you can do all of that on your website. So, and this is point 3, grow your email list and nurture them. Just nurture them, feed them, give them all your best stuff, because this is where the magic happens. People ultimately will be more likely to buy from you as a result of what comes into their inbox, as opposed to anything they see anywhere else on the internet. I'll use Country Road as an example here. If you're on the Country Road mailing list, you probably get a couple of emails a week that might be highlighting a sale, highlighting new products, etc., etc. Now, at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, you're far more likely to react to what you got in that email than, let's say, you've seen, well, let's say 2 p.m. on Tuesday, you might do some online shopping while you're sitting at your desk. It's highly unlikely that at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, you're going to wander into a Country Road store of your own free will, or because you saw an ad on Facebook, then actually respond to that email. So that's, I guess, trying to get it across the point that your email, that's why it's important to get those people there. It's also the only thing that you own. If something terrible happens and your website gets hacked, or Facebook no longer allows businesses, then all of a sudden you don't have that audience anymore. You might have 100,000 followers on Facebook and your account gets shut down because you put a foot out of line somehow. All of a sudden you've lost that. And there are businesses who have suffered big time because they didn't, or they hadn't invested in growing that email list at the same time. Now, Facebook advertising is also a great way to help build that email list. So, moving on. If you've got any questions on that, because I guess I covered a lot about content in a very short space of time, because again, this is about Facebook advertising, not about content. But I guess the key things that I want to get across there is that it's really important that the free stuff that you develop is really good too. And that way people will help that will help people to get to know you, to trust you, and ultimately want to buy from you. And that one of your key things you should be aiming to do is to build an email list of your own, so that you always have direct access to people who you know are potentially interested in buying from you or using your services. So now I'm just going to run through the important ad guidelines there. I mean, you hear things about ads being not approved and that it might be difficult because of these ad guidelines, but in reality it's not. Let's have a drink of water. Talking a lot, as I do. So sticking to the rules, there's the 20% text rule. Now, this is a rule that basically means that any ad image that you produce, and this includes your boosted posts, can only include 20% text. There's plenty of ways, like you can get overlays to check them. You can upload them into a back-end part of Facebook that will check them. And for up until very recently, if you had more than 20% text, your ad wouldn't be approved. Now, this is something that's changing, and Facebook are now allowing ads to have more than 20% text, but the more text you have, the less exposure they will give it. So effectively, it will cost you more per view or engagement or whatever on that ad than if you only had 20% text. So ideally, it's what I'd encourage you to do is to set up your ads and really all of your posts with only 20% text or less. because what that means is you're going to ensure that you're fitting within this guideline. And if you have a post that is something that was maybe just one of your day-to-day posts and you weren't expecting it to kind of get the kind of engagement that it did, you can then boost it to get it out to a wider audience if it's something that you know people are really interested in, and you won't be stuck not being able to boost it or having it suppressed because it's actually an image that's covered in text. It's a fairly straightforward one, and just to aim for that less than 20% text. And I think you'd be surprised once you do it how much text 20% can be. Now, you can't advertise anything illegal or exploitive. Now, this is such an obvious thing, and I doubt that any of you are advertising anything illegal or exploitive. So this extends to drugs, tobacco, supplements, weapons, and adult products and services. It can't be overly sexual or emphasize ideal body shape. Images overly focused on individual body parts are not okay. So if you are in the weight loss space, you cannot use an image of just someone's abs, for example. It's just, if you've got whole bodies is the best way to go, and before and after shots, not okay. Now, you must not refer to personal attributes, instead describe the product or service. Now, what this means is with the text in your, like the text section of your ad, don't ask a question, make a statement. So rather than saying, are you feeling tired and overweight? You will make a statement about how your product will overcome this particular problem, let's say. And you can't be false or misleading with what you are advertising. So if your advertisement takes people away from Facebook and they land on a page and it's not what they're expecting, this will get tracked and picked up, and your ad will then get shut down, or it will be no longer allowed, it won't be shown anymore. So this is perhaps relevant for supplements and other weight loss type products, anything that is multi-level marketing related. It would also be, let's say you were advertising something illegal and you were getting people to go there by telling them that you were actually selling teddy bears, let's say. There is a connection, or Facebook can tell and see the connection between what it is you're advertising and what it is that's off Facebook. So you can't trick it. But it's not something that I would anticipate that anybody or any of you would run into. So the real key ones there are the 20% text rule and the not referring to personal attributes and instead describing the product or service. So they're the rules. I mean, there's more rules than that, but they're really the key ones to follow. The importance of advertising goals. It's like anything. If you're advertising on Facebook, you're going to be spending money. So you want to have a goal for that money that you're spending. What is it that you want to achieve? So the top 3 goals for your ads will be to either drive traffic to your website for later retargeting, and that's what that pixel's for, the retargeting element, to create brand awareness and to get leads. So I'll run through each of these things. No, I'll come back here and I'll run through each of those things. So in terms of driving traffic, this is a really useful thing to do when you, I guess, are first starting out. And I mean, it's something that you continue to do throughout the life cycle of your business. You will perhaps, let's say, put together an informative blog post and you'll post that on your website, and then you'll share it to Facebook and promote that post to encourage more people to go to your website. And that way your pixel can track them and you can target back to them later, and you'll know that that particular audience has already seen you, and so they're more likely to take action on whatever that next thing is that you want them to do as a result of that advertising. So the next thing is to create brand awareness. And I mean, this could be a like campaign. I don't generally encourage them because you will more often than not get better results with just a boosted post. So this would be a post that you that I guess is something that's fairly key to your business, that people are interested in, and is, let's say, a selling point of your business, something that might be benefit to your audience. And these are the kinds of posts that you put out there. Really a boosted post works well for this. And then last is to get leads. And so this is getting leads, is getting people on your email list. And so you're running a let's say Facebook ad to take people to a landing page where they can sign up for your email list and enter your sales funnel, so that at some point in time you'll promote your products and services to them. They're the top 3 goals for your ads, and the different ad types will work towards achieving any one of these things for you. And ideally you want to use these 3 different goals sort of in harmoniously with one another, let's say. So there's some really good strategy around why you're running your Facebook ads. So flirt, date, marry, how to talk to your traffic. Something that we say quite often is, and really as an analogy, is that you don't ask someone to marry you on a first date. So consequently, you shouldn't be asking them to buy from you the first time you meet them and expecting them to do it. It's really no different. So at different points in your, I guess, across your social media, your website, and once they're on your email list, you'll be talking to your traffic either in a flirtatious way or getting a little bit more in detail with them, getting to know them better, letting them get to know you better, and then in the end marrying them and asking for a commitment. So here we go. Don't ask for too much too early. We've got 3 kinds of traffic. We've got cold traffic. Now these are the prospects who are floating around Facebook, the people who probably or could be, might be, maybe interested in what it is that you sell or what your service is. They might be keen to work with you. You can solve a problem that they have or offer a service that would be of benefit to them. But you can't ask them for too much commitment when you first meet them on social media. Your goal when you're on social media is to get them to engage with a post either on Facebook or your website. And it's that simple: to like a post, to like your page, to pop over to your website and read what it is you've written, to start establishing a relationship so that they can get to know you a little bit better and you can start getting to know them. Next, you have your warm traffic. These are the suspects who have either liked your page or visited your website. Your goal is now to get them to join your email list. So once they're on your email list, they become hot traffic. They're leads who engage with you on a regular basis or are already on your email list. Your goal is to get them to convert, to get them to take you up on an offer to use your services or buy a product. Now, one area where it gets a little bit tricky is there are some people who will engage with you very frequently on your website or on social media, but will never, ever, 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 ever give you their email address. So this is one of the reasons why it's okay to actually sell things directly on social media and on your website. Don't do it all the time, but it's still okay to do it, because there are some people who will never join your email list, no matter how much you've given them, and that's totally fine. Like, you just all of us don't. Not everyone enjoys email, and I'll be honest, I don't enjoy email. It doesn't stop me signing up to lists, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I read everything that comes into my inbox right away. So everybody has different habits as far as email is concerned in that respect. So that's just an important thing to be aware of, and that's why, as I say, sometimes it's okay to sell directly on social media or on your website. So don't think that you can never, ever, ever do it, because you can. Now, the power of audiences. This is where Facebook advertising gets super duper powerful. Now, there are 4 key methods of audience creation, and this is where I'm going to get a little bit technical, and this is why there'll be a replay of this and you'll be able to access it. I'll send out the link as long as you are on the mailing list. If you're not, then head over to the Hardwood Digital website when we're finished and just pop your name on the email list, and that will ensure that you get the replay of this. So, because like I said, I'm going to get a little bit techy here. And so these 4 methods, you've got custom audience from website traffic. So this is where we're talking about that pixel. By the magic of data, the people who, if you've got that pixel installed on your website and you have an audience set up inside your audiences in your ads manager, then you will collect an audience of the people who have visited your website. You don't know their names and email addresses. Facebook just has a little collection and a tracking bundle of who those people are. And you are able to direct advertising directly to those people who you know have already been to your website. So next is a custom audience from a customer database. Let's say you already have an email database of 5,000 people and you've never done any Facebook advertising before. You can export that list out of your email manager and you can upload it into Facebook to create a custom audience. And what Facebook will do is match up email addresses with the email addresses of people who have Facebook accounts, and that will create an audience for you. What you'll find, let's say you had 5,000 people on your email list that you uploaded into Facebook, you might end up with an audience of only 4,000 people, because as I've got about 5 email addresses and I'm sure that you have at least 2 or 3 yourself. Consequently, you don't get that direct match. But again, you've got that custom audience, the people who've already signed up, they're already in your database, they're your hot traffic. We know that they've already trusted you enough to give you their email address, so you can target advertising directly to them. And as you'd know, as a business owner, if you've got an email list, not everybody opens every email you ever send them. If you've got a 25 to 30% open rate on your emails, then you're doing really well. So what you can do is, let's say you've got some really important information that you're putting in your email one week, and it's perhaps related to a sale or a new product or a service that you really want to promote. Obviously, it's going to get a percentage of the people who are on your list, the email, they'll open it, they'll see it, they'll interact with it. But if you're targeting Facebook advertising to them as well, then you're both reinforcing that email that you sent, and you're also capturing the people who didn't open their emails. So as you can see, that's a very powerful thing you can do. Next up is a lookalike audience based on existing audience. So let's say you take your audience that you've made of people who are already on your email list. You can ask Facebook to create a lookalike audience. So what it will do is find the people who look like or are similar to those people who are already on your email list and create you an audience from that. And then last but certainly not least is an audience based on audience insights. And this is where you can dig right down into obviously the gender and the age, but going well beyond that and looking at the interests of your ideal customer. And it's with audience insights and knowing who your ideal customer is, when you tie those things together, gives you some really powerful opportunities with Facebook advertising. So here we go. There's some techie, like where to find these things in the back end. So this is certainly where you might want to, if you're going to set these things up, get the replay and work through these, because this will help you find where they are inside your ads manager. So just to summarize, that audience from web traffic, this is the one that requires the pixel on your website. Now, there are some types of advertising that will generate an audience based on how people have interacted with it, and they are specifically video spit it out. The pieces of video advertising. When you set up a video ad in the ads manager of your account, it will generate audiences based on how people have interacted with that video. That's probably something that's going a little bit above where we're at now, because I think I just said interact and audience and video way too many times in one sentence, and possibly that's become a bit confusing. But I guess one thing for me to get across there is that video advertising is really cool. So it's worth considering doing some. Now, this audience from web traffic, and this is the key thing with this one, it allows you to retarget people who have visited your website already. Next one, the audience from your database. So you can see here, if you go into your ads manager in Facebook, you'll see the option to create a custom audience. And so once you've exported your list out of your mail manager, it's simple to then upload that list of emails or phone numbers, not the names as well, just emails or phone numbers. And you get the instructions to do this once you're in there. And Facebook finds them in their database and creates the audience based on who they are. This allows you to reinforce your message, give reminders, and keep you top of mind, even when people aren't opening your emails. So the lookalike audience. This is a fun thing to have a play with. It helps you find people who are similar to people you are already connected with, and it can be further refined once it's been generated. So the smallest lookalike audience that you can generate will be 1% of the country that you choose. So in Australia, that is probably now would be putting it around the 150,000 mark as a 1% lookalike audience. You could then take that audience and apply further parameters to it. Let's say you only wanted people in Melbourne, and you could use that lookalike audience to narrow it down to only people who are in Melbourne, or only males, or only females in Sydney, etc., etc. It just sort of gives you a starting point, because all of the background data that Facebook has kept and now analysed, they're going, okay, so these 150,000 people, they're the most similar people we have in our database to the 5,000 people you've got in yours. And then finally, the audience using audience insights. Now, this is one that the best thing for you to do with this is to go into the back end and play with it. And as I said before, this is where knowing your ideal customer is absolutely essential, but this function makes Facebook advertising absolute gold, because you can create quite well-defined audiences of people. And obviously the kind of audience that you are looking for in your business, you know who they are. For some businesses, this is a moving target. Your audience is going to change, or there'll only be a short period of time where they'll be interested in your product or service. For other people, there is a much bigger window for you to capture them and capture their interest, and for them to become your clients. Obviously, anything that is motherhood or wedding related, you've only got that sort of moving target and smaller window there. Whereas if you're looking at accounting, lawyers, health professionals, you've got a bigger target of time there. So looking, you'll probably have larger audiences, or you'll be able to test different interests around that. But as I said, this particular function has so many different options. The best thing that I can recommend is to get in there and play. And you don't want those audiences to be particularly huge. I think the combination that I've got there, which is men and women in Australia who are between the ages of 25 and 60, who like the page of The Project, as in the television show, that gives me an audience of between 6,000 and 7,000 people in Australia. So it's not huge. And there, in that little additional entries box under interest, you can actually target other pages. So if you have a business in a particular area, you can target the audience of a business who is similar to yours or has a similar audience to the people you are looking to attract. Obviously, very powerful tool. Not all pages will come up for you there. It depends on a few things, and it can be a bit hit and miss with who you'll be able to find and who you want. I think there's a bit of no rhyme or reason to it. Generally, they have to be larger, like more than 10,000 people, but that doesn't mean that a page with only 5,000 people, you won't be able to target them, because there are some of them you can. It's just a matter of getting in there and trying. If you don't already like the page, it can be worthwhile going and liking the page and then coming back later to have another try. It's just a function that you can play with, and you will sometimes end up creating, like, you can create as many audiences as you want. You don't pay for them, you store them there, you can test them, and sometimes you'll find that there are things that you thought would work really well and there's nothing, and then sometimes you just find little like reefs of gold, and they'll be an audience who will all of a sudden just interact with you and cause great growth on your page. So it's really all about playing and testing with that one. So a pro tip on this with audiences: the better your audience targeting is, the cheaper your leads and conversions will be. So what that means, the better or of more interest to your audience your advertising is, it will be cheaper, because people will engage with it. And that it's just one of those things. So make sure your ad is actually speaking to the audience you're targeting. Don't make it pink necessarily if you're targeting men, or let's say a feminine looking ad if you are targeting men. You want something that's going to connect with the audience that you're talking to. Right, types of ads and when to use them. Have a little drink. Right. And the first things first is you've got two different ad interfaces in Facebook, and this can be confusing, but it doesn't need to be. There's the Power Editor and the Ads Manager. They're essentially the same. And what I'm going to say is the Ads Manager is probably the place where you're going to look at your ads to review how they're going. The Power Editor is the place where you're going to set them up. Once upon a time, the Power Editor was big. It was a pain in the bum to use. It was really temperamental, but it's not anymore. The interface is very similar looking, and Power Editor has a few features that the Ads Manager doesn't. One of the key things is how much text you can write into the text boxes that go with your ads. If you're setting up an ad in the Ads Manager, you'll be generally limited to 200 characters. In the Power Editor, you can write War and Peace if you want to. And that's it's no fun being constrained by how many characters you can have on an ad. So I really recommend just getting comfortable with the Power Editor from the start for setting up your ads. Business Manager. Now, this is a different interface for your business page, but it's really only required, actually, that's wrong what I've said. It's only really required if you have more than one business page that you are managing or managing ads for. You don't need to set it up if you want someone else to manage your advertising. But I will put a but on this. At the moment, the Business Manager and how it works for people managing multiple pages is going through some changes. Now, Stephen got the changes before I did. In our business, he manages more accounts, generally speaking, through the Business Manager than I do. So consequently, he got those changes first. And their changes I'm only just starting to see, so I don't really understand what the difference is yet. But if you want to run ads on more than one page, then you're definitely going to need Business Manager. If you're managing multiple pages just for posting content, then you probably don't need it. And at this stage, you don't need it to allow someone else to manage your advertising. So that's the Business Manager. One of the painful things when you've got Business Manager is just how when you are on your business page, you're actually no longer in Facebook. You're on a different interface. And that's more of a issue on your phone. But what it means is if you're posting on your business page from your phone, you have to use the Pages Manager app as opposed to the Facebook app to do it, because then you post as yourself. And that gets frustrating because you post as yourself and it becomes a post to the page rather than a page post, and la 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 la. You go, really, do I have to write all of that again? So that's the Business Manager. Now, next we've got types of Facebook ads. Now, I don't know if any of you listening have got an app, and there are 2 ad types there that are crossed out in red, and they're to get installs of your app and increase engagement in your app. But unless you have an app, you don't need to worry about that. The different types of ads have different objectives and should be used with different goals in mind. And as I said, all ad types are not relevant for all businesses, and you get the best results when you use more than one ad type in conjunction with another. So some of the key ones that I'll use are boosted post. There will probably be people who tell you differently, that you don't get the same power with a boosted post. And even sort of 6 months ago, yes, that was true, but that function has really improved, and I would challenge them to not get better results with that than they can with posting a dark ad that has the same objective from inside the Ads Manager. Next up is send people to your website and increase conversions on your website. These are the ad types that you will use for lead generation and when you are tracking people's movements on your website or on your landing pages. If you're promoting a post and a blog post, let's say, on your website, and you're setting that up as an ad, then you'll use send people to your website. Alternatively, you'll have posted that link to your website on your Facebook page already, and you just boost that post. That works fine too. Now, the ones that I've got circled there, reach people near your business and get video views. These are really inexpensive ways to raise awareness of your business. And I'll go a bit more into detail on what they do. Now, you want to use your Facebook ads individually to do one of 2 things: build awareness of your business or ask people to take action. So this is, again, going back to having goals in mind when you're setting up ad campaigns. Which is which? Awareness campaigns, you'll have boosted posts, videos, and local awareness. A call to action, you'll have, again, boosted post, send to website, increase conversions, and videos. So let's look at a boosted post. It's entry-level advertising that Facebook has made really easy for you. The rookie errors here are not choosing the right posts to boost and not boosting them for long enough. So boosting a post for 2 days is probably not going to get you anywhere as near the kind of results that a good boosted post will get you over 10 days, because they take time to sort of even out. They need to fit your usual image guidelines for advertising, ideally, and you want to set up those audiences in your Ad Manager account to target cold traffic. So before you go to boost a post, make sure that you've set up some audiences to target. That said, one of your options when you boost a post is to boost your post to people who like your page and their friends. Or I think if you've got enough people there, you might just want to boost it to people who like your page. If you've got 10,000 people who like your page, obviously, it's probably going to cost you $60 to reach the majority of them. And if you've got something really important to say, and if they're people who already like your page, don't forget they're already your warm traffic. So it might be an offer that you're making, a promotion, a sale. Then boosting a post directly to the people who like your page already, that's going to work really well. And if you then extend that to the friends of people who like your page, then you've got a little bit of social proof. And you would have seen this in your news feed. It comes up as an ad, and it will actually say at the top there's an opportunity to like the page, and it will tell you that like 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 of your friends already like the page. And because friends of yours, and let's say you respect, like you go, oh, Jane Smith, she already likes that page, and I know that I like what Jane likes a lot of the time, so I'm going to like that page too. That bit of social proof can really help with your boosted post, and that's where a boosted post can absolutely trump a like page post, because it's not sitting in someone's newsfeed going, hey there, can you like my page? It's actually a post that's giving some sort of value, and if somebody gets value from what they've seen, then they're going to go, oh, I'm going to engage with that post, and I'm going to like the page too, because if they're giving me this value here, then I'm sure I'm going to get more value from them down the track. So it's worthwhile liking their page. So next is a video ad. They're really cheap, like super cheap. And they're brilliant for building brand awareness. If you want people to take action from your video, then you need to give a clear call to action in the video, because the one at the end of the video is like terrible and people probably won't take any action from it because it's unclear. What you'll see is becoming very much a tactic right now with video advertising is that whoever's speaking actually won't say a lot, and the majority of what they're saying will be subtitled on the video too. And that's because when a video comes into our newsfeed, it will start playing, but there won't be any sound. We have to choose to turn the sound on. How often have you watched a video on your newsfeed and you haven't actually had any sound? Like, I know I've seen heaps of recipe videos like that that I've watched, and I know exactly what the recipe is and how to make it. But I haven't turned on the sound. So that's a tactic with video ads right now. Now, video ads are the ones that create an audience based on how much has been consumed of that video by someone in their newsfeed, and you can retarget them. And again, you know that they have seen some of your video, they've seen you before. If you send some other kind of advertising to it, there's a improved chance that they're going to engage with it or take action from it because they have engaged with you previously. And as I said, it's super cheap. Like, you'll get views on your video and sort of engagements with your video for a couple of cents, like 1, 2, 3, 4 cents. So for a fairly small ad spend, you can reach a lot of people. A local awareness ad. Now, what this does is it uses geo-targeting, not listed address. So this is something you need to have a business address listed on your page to use this. Bear in mind, you can change your business address. If it's not imperative that people know where your business address is, because let's say you work from home and you use a PO box, if you were trying to target people in particular suburbs, then you can move that email address around. Oh, sorry, that address around, and because it will target a radius around a particular point. And it will target anybody who like the data is saying they're in that area. So it's not using who, like I know I haven't put my address into Facebook on my personal account. So it's actually Facebook using the geo-targeting information to serve that advertising to you. It's essentially the same as letterboxing an area, but it's cheaper and more dynamic. And this is where, like, there are not many audience targeting options. You can choose male or female, and you can choose an age range. But let's say you have a product or a service and you're only interested in selling to women, or you know that only women will be interested in what it is you're selling, then you can ensure that your advertising only goes to women. Or you can say, I only want to target women between the ages of 25 and 35, let's say. And so you can narrow things down that way. And again, this is one of those ad types that's going to cost you 1 or 2 or 3 cents maybe for somebody to have it served to them in their newsfeed. And it's very difficult, I think, to get letterboxing done at that kind of price. So it's a really good ad type to use. Website clicks and conversions. Now, the format is the same for both. To a website, sending traffic to your website that's optimized for clicks Conversions is optimized for people who are more likely to give you their email address. Both can be used for retargeting, but conversions is more aggressive than website clicks. And what you'll see is that you pay more for a conversion than you do for a website click, and they calculate how much you pay differently. But I mean, if you think about it, not everybody who clicks on your link clicks on the link in the ad is actually going to sign up for whatever the offer is. So they kind of balance out at a similar sort of level. So they're two ad types. They're a little bit more advanced. And if you're looking to set some up, then you may definitely get in there and give it a go. But you may want a little bit of extra guidance with them, because you can blow a lot of money quite quickly if they're not targeted well. So now we're going to go back to this simple content plan again. Now this is, so let's say again, we're promoting an event or a release, a launch, a particular service, a new product, and that's what each of those posts, that content is geared at. So this is a $200 ad budget. It's got 5 boosted posts at $25 a day. Sorry, at $25 each. And they would be sort of split out into maybe $5 a day. So I think they would have been even less than that, maybe sort of, you can go as low as you want. You can spend $1 a day on a boosted post. The minimum for an ad that you set up in Ads Manager is about $7, was last I looked, $7.05. And I think that funny number must relate to the exchange rate. Say $7.05, probably pretty close to $5. But I sort of work on $7.50 a day because it's a nice round number. And you can spread your $200 monthly ad budget across that, and you'll get a lot of reach for that kind of budget. So there we go. Pro tip: combining campaigns that first build awareness, then ask people to take action, are powerful in what they deliver. And so this is where all the retargeting comes back into it. So we set up an ad type that is going to build awareness of your brand, so that then when we ask people for their email address or to buy something, we know that they're at least at the warm traffic stage. And that's really a powerful way to use Facebook advertising. And it's when you're using it in that way that you'll start to see some really good results from it, as opposed to sort of boosting a post here and there. Because when we're combining our campaigns and using it strategically, that's, I mean, yeah, it's just going to do so much more for you. And I think that gets us to the end. It does. Questions? Now, I guess you can, if you have got access to that chat box, feel free to pop any questions up. Alternatively, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email with any questions that you have. Obviously, we run advertising campaigns for our clients, and if that's something that you might be interested in, then feel free to get in touch and I can give you some more information around that. There's different types of campaigns that we can run and different levels of investment. But yeah, as you can see, it doesn't need to be really expensive to get great results. And it's something that I really encourage you to start planning into your marketing budget for your business, because it is going to help you to scale and grow. And when I talk about lead generation, it's moving beyond that free content. And yes, you can do a lot with that free stuff to encourage people to work with you, but you can then scale it when you add in that paid advertising. It's a really powerful thing. So yeah, unless you've got any questions, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I think I've just about talked myself hoarse after talking solid for an hour. I hope you've got a lot out of it. As I said, hopefully I'll be sending out a replay. So with those techie things, if you want to dive in and sort of, yeah, you can stop and figure out where they are on your screen. By all means, go for it. And feel free to email me with any questions, or book in for a strategy session if you want to get some Facebook advertising done for your business. Thanks for joining me tonight, and I'll be back again soon. See ya.